Hi everybody, my name's Katie Thompson-Green and I'm the Managing Director of CMN. I just wanted to welcome you all today to the Amazon Prime Video Showcase. I'm not going to take up a lot of time. I just wanted to say a massive thank you to all the mentees and mentors for being on this programme. This is a really special programme for us. I think Amazon Prime Video are a dream partner of ours to work with. So when we started working with this team, it really, was a kind of dream come true for CMN. So thank you everyone for the commitment that you've shown over the last 16 weeks. And also thank you to all the mentees for kind of being so motivated and proactive over this programme. We're really looking forward to seeing the presentations tonight. So I'm just going to hand over to Alison.
Hi, I'm Alison. I'm the EU Head of Campaign Production at Prime Video. Again, not going to take up too much of your time. Again, like Natasha said, this has been a huge, really important programme for us, and we've been really proud to be part of this with all of you. I'm really excited to see kind of what you guys have been up to over the last 16 weeks, and really congratulations on the programme itself. I really hope that you continue your relationships and build these strong relationships and foundations with us as you go through. Yeah, we hope to do more of these in the future as well.
Great. I just wanted to say a final thing for the mentees. CMN is always here for you. So if you want to promote anything on our social channels or you want to kind of connect with us after the programme's finished, please do reach out. We really want to support you. You're part of our community. So please kind of don't be strangers and always reach out to us. Okay, enough from us. We will hand over to Adna to start the presentations.
Thank you, Katie and Alison. Just to reiterate what they said, it's so exciting that everyone's here. I know the showcase was supposed to be online, and it's just amazing that we've managed to move it to in-person. It's always nice to see everyone's faces and put names to faces, especially because the whole programme was virtual. So yeah, I hope you guys are excited. We've got a jam-packed kind of showcase. We've got 5 presentations, and I won't take up too much of your time. I think we'll just get started with the first presentation, which is from the lovely Dinah.
Hi everyone, so my presentation is going to be on music in advertising. So here's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And so to start off, song selections can basically make or break a good advert. They're important for many different reasons. For example, mnemonics, which are also known as sonic logos, can help identify a brand and make it more recognizable. Brands could also help music and adverts can also help brands if they're like struggling. For example, I've got the gorilla from the Cadbury's advert, and prior to this advert, Cadbury sales actually tanking because of their salmonella scandal. So after this advert came out, the sales went back up. And then also music and advertising is important because it can help reach different demographics. So up here I've got Hailey Bieber from the recent Hugo Boss advert. And this was part of a campaign that Hugo Boss put together to basically reach Gen Z. So they used a song from The Weeknd, who is an extremely popular artist, to kind of reach a younger target audience. In addition, music and advertising can also help boost an artist's profile. For example, I don't know if you guys remember, but when 3 had that advert with the Shetland pony and it played a Fleetwood Mac song, I think the song went back up to #1, even though it had been released like decades before. So key players in music placements are creative directors, producers, the client, and rights holders. So rights holders include record labels and publishing labels. And so basically how the process of getting music in an advert would work is that a client would want an advert produced. They would reach out to a creative agency. A producer within the creative agency will reach out to a music agency, and then the person in the music agency will be called a music supervisor. They will then reach out to rights holders, so record labels, publishing labels, production libraries, and give them a brief that has been given to them by the creative director to basically ask for a specific song or a type of a vibe or a type of song that could fit with the brief or the advert. And I also put budget, even though budget's not a person, but budget's really important in these aspects, because if you can't afford the song or you don't have the budget for the music you want, then that's going to be a big influence in how it turns out. So I used a case study. So I used Indeed. Indeed is a job search site, and it's available in 60 countries, in 28 languages. The adverts tend to be like empowering, encouraging, comforting. The advert I'm looking at today is part of their campaign called Write Your Story. So I'm going to show you the original advert. So they used a song from a electronic duo called Le Bon. And they actually used a piano version of the original song, which is quite upbeat, but the piano version kind of fits well with this advert. So I'm just going to play it for you. Don't worry, it's 30 seconds. So. So yeah, that was the original advert. Oops, sorry. Hold on. So I basically decided to put together a pretend brief because music supervision is a career aspiration of mine. So if I was a music supervisor, I would basically be the person receiving the brief from a creative director. So I've put together a faux brief that I would basically get if I was to be working on this kind of advert. So typically a brief would include like the scenario. It depends on the creative director or the client how much information they want to give, but they'll tell you the scenario and the kind of music that they're looking for, if they want something upbeat, if they want something bold, if they want something powerful, if they want something sad, and sometimes they'll include the budget, which is also really important, because if you know the budget, then you won't go asking for like a Daft Punk song or a Beyonce song if you know you've only got 10,000 to spend. So yeah, this is what it kind of will look like. Well, this is the most basic form of it. And I decided to use my fake brief to find another track that could fit over the advert. So the track I've chosen is a track called Future Me by an artist called Mega. I actually found her from just the Spotify playlist. So I'm just going to play you my version now.
Hey, hey, future me. I hope the things that hold me down will one day set you free. Hey, hey, future me. Don't forget my trouble set you on the path of where you've gotta be.
So yeah, that was my song choice. So the creative process, basically, because I'm just one individual and I'm not actually a music supervisor with a music agency and loads of contacts, I just had to use myself and my Spotify account to find songs that could fit with the advert. So what I did is I shortlisted a selection of tracks that had a certain vibe, or the lyrics kind of fit with the atmosphere of the advertisement. And then what I did is I got the video and muted it and played the songs over the video to find out which one fits the advert the best. This typically doesn't happen in the actual scenario. In the actual scenario, sometimes you won't even get the video, you just get the brief and you just have to find the song, and that's that. But so yeah, it was kind of easier for me, I guess. So yeah, you just find the song that fits best with the mood and the tempo. And then to summarize, selecting a song isn't always easy. Sometimes there are creative clashes between the creative director and the client, and also there could be other aspects that influence what kind of music you can use in an advert. For example, the rights holders can also be a block in what music gets used. For example, certain artists don't like their songs being used on adverts or TV shows. Tracy Chapman, Bruce Springsteen are two famous examples of artists who don't like their music being used in sync placements. Also, if there's a value clash between the artist and the brand. For example, if an artist is a vegetarian and McDonald's want to use their music, is going to be an issue. Yeah, that's an aspect that can influence the impact of music. And then the most important is the budget. Regardless of what song you want to use, if you can't afford it, it's not happening. So yeah, that's basically my talk on music and advertising. Has anyone got any questions for me? Anything that wasn't very clear? Yeah.
Do you know like what the most expensive song for an advert is, or one-off?
I don't know the most expensive, but I think the Beatles are the most expensive, well, one of the most expensive artists to license. I think 30 seconds of a song could be close to 7 figures. I know of a Daft Punk song that was used in an American campaign, and the client paid $800,000 for the song. So yeah, it can really range between like 3 figures, 4 figures, up to like 7 figures to license a song, and it all depends on like how much of it you're using, what territories, where it's going to be advertised. Is it TV, YouTube, cinema, and all of that adds to the price of the license. Any more questions? Okay, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dinah. That was super fascinating. Music supervision is like a career that I've never heard of. So it's really, really interesting to see like your journey and what you've been working on. And I'm sure you're going to get a job in it, and I'm sure you're going to thrive. So well done. We're going to move on to the next presentation. This presentation is called A Story About Taking Small Steps. And it's by the lovely Simran, who actually works with us. So big round of applause for Simran and her mentor, Juliet.
Hi everyone, I'm going to start and introduce Simran. I'm Juliet, social country lead at Prime Video and Simran's mentor. When I first met Simran, I'd been told she was working in social media and outreach for a youth charity, as well as being an avid reader and writer in her spare time. On our first virtual meeting, I encountered a shy, soft-spoken 24-year-old woman with big dreams. Underneath her facade, I could sense she had a creative spark, and her mind was running at 100 miles an hour. I quickly understood Simran's passion for creative writing and true drive to become a creative. What impressed me the most when we discussed goals and challenges was her ability to actively listen, reflect, and then act to create change in her life. In 5 months, I've seen Simran transform from being unhappy in a company that didn't match her values and frustrated she wasn't being recognized for her accomplishments, to taking charge of her life to find a new role, put herself forward in uncomfortable ways, negotiate a salary, and set clearly structured goals to achieve both her personal and professional aspirations. Simran has taught me so much. By sharing both the challenges and successes of my experience, I realized the power of coaching through vulnerability. As we spoke about the specific situations she was facing, I was able to bring in examples of how I'd overcome similar issues when I was younger, and at times either failed or succeeded to navigate the often difficult and unfair world of creative work. Simran's struggles as a young woman, starting out in her career, reminded me so much of myself and how I'd wish I'd had a mentor to guide me at the time. So thank you to the Creative Mentor Network for the immensely valuable work that you do. Please don't stop. Simran, I look forward to seeing how you develop as a confident, independent woman and to hear about both your career progression and creative accomplishments. Never doubt your strong sense of values and beliefs and use them to empower your direction and choices in life. I encourage you to keep asking questions, challenging yourself with interpersonal relationships, navigate the politics of the workspace, and never fail to ask for what you deserve. May you never stop finding new ways to make your creative abilities shine and to share them with the rest of the world. And now, over to Simran.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Simran, and to explore my time as a mentee, I've structured my presentation as a story about taking small steps. It's a cute little cat meme. Starting with chapter 1, Not So Great Beginnings. In my first meeting with Juliet, I had no clue what I was doing. I had a role in social media at a place that didn't align with my values, so I sought purpose in other things, almost everything. When Juliet asked me what I wanted to focus on, I went on about how much I wanted to write a book without being able to carve out time to write for myself, how I enjoyed working in social media, but also didn't want to be a person that worked in social media, and how much I wanted to get into screenwriting and even create my own version of Dazed. I wanted to do everything without doing nothing, and Juliet listened. And then chapter 2, a moment of reflection. I don't know how, but Juliet managed to connect me with people in all of the fields I wanted to go into. I got the chance to ask about their career journeys and the day-to-day of their jobs. For some reason, as happy as they were to take time out of their days to chat, I found myself filling the meetings with a bunch of sorries and thank yous, and even rushed to end some of them because I felt like I was taking up too much of their time. After bringing this up with Juliet, which sometimes felt like free therapy, we unpacked this feeling and worked on ways to use those moments to my advantage and to be okay with taking up space. Juliet helped me slow down and ask myself the right questions. And then that led to step 3, taking a new step. We spoke about quiet confidence and I chased it. I let myself love working in social media and realized that I didn't actually have to be working where I was. So when I saw that CMN was hiring a social media marketing executive, me and Juliet worked on my CV and interview skills, and that's where I work now. At CMN, I'm able to focus on the storytelling and community building side of social media, and I really love it. Moreover, being happy with where I'm at has helped me detach myself from the pressure of feeling like I have to do everything. I still have goals, but they start small, and the main one is to learn how to write for myself again. And then there's chapter the ending. So I'd like to reintroduce you to Simran. It's very weird talking about myself in the third person, but post multiple chats with Juliet. I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be right now, and all the steps I've taken over the past 12 weeks has helped me take the bigger step of moving out, and I'm sure that will form the building block of another big step to come. So I'd like to say thank you to Juliet for helping me work through that second-gen immigrant mentality of never feeling like I'm doing enough and to do everything right now. I'm not completely out of it, but you've helped me feel rooted in who I am and where I'm at. And I'd also like to thank you guys for patiently listening to a very deep story about me, but thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Simran. It is so important to see how small steps and really breaking down your goals to make them manageable, how much it can impact your kind of day-to-day life. And you should be really proud of yourself because that's a lot to achieve in such a small period of time. But yeah, we've got another presentation. This one is called Paging by the lovely Chloe, and her mentor is called Thomas.
Hello, I'm Chloe, and me and Thomas have been working on a film treatment for a script that I wrote. So yeah, this is it. So it looks like a lot of words, so I'm really sorry, and also I'm like, but overview. Flatmates, unimates, workmates. Junior doctors, Tom and Luke, both hate their lives and are starting to hate each other. But no matter what, nobody has been through what these two have been through with each other. This dark comedy short delves into the lesser-seen lives of those who save ours. From the relative comfort of their living room and 6 years of friendship, we see the pressure of performing, underperforming, patients who don't give a fuck, and those who give way too much of one. Despite their initial connections over their love of medicine, which has since then been pretty much DOA, we see how Tom and Luke's livelihoods have set them on a path into madness, chaos, and a bond that can't be broken. So this is the character page. Tom is a junior doctor. He's 25, but he looks older than he is on account of him going through 6 years of medical school. Riddled with neurosis, he feels the weight of his job on his shoulders, and he lets it get to him. He's easily intimidated, stumbling, and is in a constant state of self-deprecation. He's funny, warm, soft, talented, depressed. He doesn't show it to anyone other than Luke. He works and studies in Brighton, where he finds the sea air comforting, but their stifling flat even more so. He takes solace in the places he knows and wraps himself in the comfortability of the things that he's sure of. He's not one to take risks. Luke is also a junior doctor. He's 2 years older than Tom, and they are both distinctly aware of it. He took a year out to reevaluate his career path because of non-remarkable grades, something he didn't know would happen to him. He is a good doctor, fine, but it doesn't come naturally to him. He has to work for it hard. He did have a passion for medicine, but it's slowly dwindling, something he will never confront, but his bosses will. He's hurt, jealous, irritable, a little callous. He's blunt, but it's not that he doesn't care about Tom or his patients. It's simply that he's become immune to it. Come too close and he cuts. He likes to show off, showboat, and is quick to position himself in the limelight because then at least people are noticing him. Also, I was furious when This Is Gonna Hurt came out because... so this is the basic storyline. Tom has been in the operating room and has turned someone into a human bloody Trevi fountain. Luke has told someone to go kill themselves. And now they're in the living room where it's late or possibly very early. It's hard to tell when there's a cuppa and a cereal bowl full of leftover chilli on a futon that's seen better days. Luke and Tom are on one. They've both had a hard day at work for entirely different reasons. Tom, living the proverbial dream, has landed a shadowing role with the top doc. Luke, eyeing that position himself, is perpetually jealous and trying his not so hardest to mask it. With Tom feeling unsupported and Luke feeling overwhelmed and overlooked, they become increasingly aware of each other's anxieties, and the pain from both of them throb and pulse with every sharp blow uttered. They are trying and succeeding to hurt each other. It becomes increasingly obvious that Tom feels so much pressure on his shoulders that he could buckle at any moment, and in turn, Luke is one toe away from getting the boot. He's disenfranchised, jealous, apathetic. An argument ensues and secrets come out. Can their jobs or even their friendships survive such a revelation? Themes, excuse the goriness. Themes. Although inundated with wry, dry humour and biting comebacks, ultimately this quick-paced, dialogue-driven piece will explore the human truths of why we do what we do and if our careers define who we are as people. There are strong threads and themes of suicide, depression, anxiety and imposter syndrome all at play here, each leading into each other and manifesting into something so huge it can't be ignored any longer, as much as they both may try to. So why doctors? Myself and my friend Alex go way back, well, since we were 12. He used to tutor me on biology, and in turn, I used to tutor him on absolutely nothing useful at all. Our friendship has always been based on a mutual knowledge that he was the clever one, the talented one. That was up until he started at university to study medicine, where his confidence flatlined. I wanted to tell the often untold, unseen, and unheard of story of the lives of junior doctors, the conditions of living, and the impact this has both mentally and physically. But Alex is funny, so I wanted to tell it funny, which is where paging comes in. Originally starting off as something to send to him that would make him laugh and also feel seen, it has then since snowballed into something, I think, that could reach a community of people who really need it. And then the gross bit about me. I've been writing, it feels like, since I can remember. I'm sure every writer says that, and I'm sure it's true. I was born and raised in Birmingham, and I've grew up with a love of films and narratives, which is mad considering the only films my mum genuinely loves are the Pirates of the Caribbean films. So I started writing my own. Everything really, from short stories to plays, films to series, and I have a master's in creative writing, which I brag about to everyone I come into contact with, including. It seemed as if writing was a cathartic experience, and since losing my dad to suicide when I was 16, it helped even more. From then, I've always known that I wanted to write and draw attention to the importance of mental health and the pressures we all face. With such a paramount and prevalent topic, I felt this deserved to be tackled in a relatable, accessible way in which people will really listen, which I hope paging can be. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Chloe. That sounds amazing. And maybe you came up with the idea before This Is Gonna Hurt, so don't feel too bad. Well done, that was really great. Thank you so much. So without further ado, we'll start with the second presentation of the night. Not second, the third, fourth. So this one is called My Journey on Prime Video Bright Sparks by the lovely Gamid, and he's joined by his mentor, Jackie. So round of applause for them.
Okay, so my name is Gamid, and I'm a college student currently studying art, media, and IT. And then I'm planning to study architecture at university. Yep.
And then my name's Jackie. I look after live sports marketing at Prime Video. I didn't know what else to put here, so I just put that I studied film and media production at university, but I've always worked in marketing.
So what I wanted to get out of this when I applied for Creative Mentor Network. So I wanted to do architecture, but I wasn't sure about it because it was sort of family influenced as well. But I'm sure I wanted to do something creative. And I wanted to try and understand if it's really something I want to do. I also wanted to get a different perspective because architecture can be applied to many industries and you can see it from different point of angles. It's used in film industry, used in, I don't even know where else, maybe everywhere. And
for me, mentoring, I wanted to help give someone a little head start in life, try and share the knowledge that I've learned along the way in my career, because I know how tough it is starting out. And also wanted to, I know that especially in creative industries, it's about who you know, and we learned that a lot through our training, and so wanted to help with our network as much as possible.
so
Oh yeah, I'll give a little introduction. So one of the things, like Gamid said, we wanted to explore was like what you can do with architecture in the creative industry. So I've got an old roommate actually who used to we used to live together, and he's a set designer, art director guy on The Witcher. And so I connected Gamid with him to get an understanding of like how architecture can be applied in TV and movies.
So it was actually very interesting to meet him on Zoom, and we kind of broke into break. I think he was working currently, and he was talking about how architecture was implied and how it was a team working. So you were sharing, you were mainly team working and sharing your experience with others, because he said that they were inviting artists and photographers to help him and build a set. He was also talking about how it takes a bit of a long time for a building to be created. So I think it was half a year or a year as well, depends on how big it is. So I was quite, what would be delighted to see that actually, even if I do architecture, I'm not going to end up in some boring little office down there somewhere, drawing my drawings all the time. I can actually be somewhere creative and work with people and communicate and share my experience and my ideas. So the Creative Mentor Network was actually taking place when I was applying for my universities, and I was having my interviews at the time. So meeting Jackie was actually helpful because we practiced a little bit on my interviews and what I can say and how I'll plan them, so the questions, and sort of boosting my confidence, let's say. And we developed some sort of 3 tips that everyone could apply to their job interviews or any kind of interview. Could you start, Jackie?
So the first one is just about like preparing your answers and thinking about what potential questions are going to be asked and preparing those answers in advance.
Then you're probably going to think about potential questions, because when I was doing my interview, they always ask you that question, like at the end, do you have any questions? And I took that into more of a longer advantage, and I was actually interviewing them. Ended up that I was asking more about the company and university and itself. And I was like, why would I go to university? What's the difference between yours? And it was kind of like, I was picking and choosing which one I want to go to. And the third tip would be practicing with someone. So again, Jackie was very helpful, and we practiced a lot, and that really did boost us confidence again. And towards the end, we would like to thank you, Creative Mentor Network, for allowing us to meet, because I don't think we would in normal life meet each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was such a great presentation. And then we are going to move on to the last presentation of the evening by the lovely Mercy, and she was mentored by Joss, and she's going to talk to us about demystifying networking. So a round of applause for Mercy.
Thanks, Adna, and hi everyone, I'm Mercy. I am doing my presentation on demystifying networking. I was mentored by the lovely Joss, who is unfortunately not feeling well, but I'm sure I'll be able to emulate her spirit and everything through this presentation as best as I can, because we've talked to each other probably more than she'd appreciate over the last 4 months, but I really enjoyed working with Joss. So I'm taking you through kind of what's coming up, or what's next, or what's ahead. So I'll let you know who we are, a little bit more about us, And then building a network in a remote world, as if you have not noticed by now, I am most definitely not from London. I am actually from Glasgow, Scotland, and travelled down this morning. So it's really great to be here. And a lot of my networking and all that kind of stuff has happened remotely, and my entire mentorship happened remotely. Joss and I have not met in person, and surely that day will come, but this is where we're at, and this is what we've made work. And then something that Joss definitely wanted to bring forward that she taught me was something called Spark List and identifying your North Star, and then what's next for me. So here we are, pictures of ourselves looking nice and happy. But my name's Mercy. As I said, I'm an international business with marketing graduate in the great year of 2020. So I most definitely graduated online, and that was not a good time. But I did have an in-person graduation last week, 2 years later. So thank you so much. Got to walk the stage and do everything, so I really enjoyed that. But I actually have been working for the past 2 years as well. I'm currently an inclusion consultant at a company in London called The Unmistakable, and we help brands and businesses make their marketing campaigns more inclusive. So it just seemed like a really great pairing up of everything and this program as well. And then there's the lovely Joss. She is a senior brand marketing manager here at Prime, Amazon Prime, and she's also the board trustee at Relate and Homestart, so she works with charities as well. So with networking, the whole idea of demystifying it is because I feel like everyone makes it a bigger deal than it is. I certainly did starting out, and it's really just conversations and building relationships, and that's the summary of what I learned, and then we'll go into how I got to that conclusion. So building a network in a remote world, as we were definitely online for the better part of 2 years, there were some steps that we worked on how we got that going, especially me being up in Scotland. So reaching out is really important, and LinkedIn is and was my best friend. Just reaching out to people, really being passionate about what they're into, being passionate in their field, and then just getting into what you would love to hear more about their experience. I actually had a lot of conversations with Sam before I got into this program, so he knows that I am that person that does all the emails, all the calls, just to get a conversation, and here we are, I got into the program. So that's how that happened. But also introductions are really helpful as well. So introductions through Joss and just being so accessible with her network and letting me know who's in her spaces that could really help me understand where I want to go next. And then preparation for conversations. I love a list. I love preparing for what's ahead. So something that we did was people learn things in threes. So having things, 3 key areas that you want to have a conversation around, whether that's the job that they're doing or whether that's how they got there, whether that's any tips they have. Having these 3 key areas that you want to kind of land in that conversation can be really helpful so that it's not just a conversation of nothing for someone like me that can talk endlessly. It was great to get some structure around that. And then lastly, is the maintaining relationships piece, which I find quite difficult because it's like, when and how do you reach out again after you've kind of gotten through that first conversation? But something that I learned in this process was that honestly, it's just as much as you'd have a conversation with someone else. If something that you see pops up on LinkedIn or pops up anywhere else, you just reach out and you just say, hey, I saw that you did this amazing thing, or I saw that you're on this campaign, would love to chat more about it, and then it really goes from there. So that's something that I've learned about maintaining relationships, and the whole idea about demystifying it is not as big a deal as it may seem. And then also learning that networking builds other skills, so there's really a benefit to it. Communication, you just learn how to have these conversations, navigate these conversations, be in the spaces, know what you want to talk about, know what the person wants to hear, but also interpersonal skills as well. Reading the room is something I found really important, and that's really hard to do on Zoom, so it's something that I definitely learned as well, of just being able to read the room, guide the conversation, and know what areas you want to delve into a bit more, and what areas that other people want to speak to a bit more as well. And lastly, interviewing skills. I found that really important because really in the networking conversations, I learned that I was talking about myself and my interests as much as I'm listening to someone talk about themselves and their interests. It's like a training ground for interviewing, and it's a free training ground as well. So it's just something that I found that was super interesting, and maybe we can use a bit of that training ground later today. So this actually seems like a very fitting conversation to have right now. And then on to Joss, who loves to put titles to things, and something called a spark list is something she taught me. But the whole idea of building a spark list, which we'll get into how to do that later, is identifying your North Star. That's the idea of it, figuring out where purpose meets passion, because I have many passions, and we really had to work on how to distill that into where I want to put my focus. I was like, I'm going to do this, 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 and she was like, okay, but we only have this timeline, so what are we going to do? And then also remembering, as I said, I'm a planner, your North Star can change. Just because you have an idea in your head, you know, at the start of the program, doesn't mean it's going to be the same idea you have at the end of the program. So the one thing that can remain consistent is change, so just being comfortable with that, because that was something I had to learn as well. So the purpose of building a spark list is really just, especially with networking calls or conversations, is that you write down all the things that spark joy in the conversation, but you also equally wrote down all the things that didn't spark joy. So if someone told you their day-to-day and their job and what it was, and you were like, that's not for me, then that goes in the thing that didn't spark joy. And that's okay, because not everyone's going to be doing the same jobs. It just helps you pull away at the cobwebs and pull away at the things that you're like, okay, hold on, what do I actually find interesting, what do I not? And then you get closer and closer to what you actually want to do. So it aligns your passions with your goals, and it also identifies what energizes you, which is really the whole thing that you'd love to do with your career, hopefully. It's what I definitely love to do with my career, and figuring out where your passion can meet your work. So with all of that, what's next? As Joss knows, I love to have a project in hand. I love to get creative. And I was like, how do we make this into something that can be really beneficial for me and fulfill my creative passions as well? And if you can't tell, I do love to talk. So here's a podcast. And we worked on a project to build a podcast around the whole idea of having these conversations and the whole idea of sharing that wealth of knowledge that people have behind their careers, because that's what I learned throughout my networking calls with everyone, is that there's so much that they do behind their careers, and there's so much that got them to that space. So it's called the Audacity of We podcast, and it's on here so that I'll actually do it. And just getting into it a little bit more, it has a little bit of podcast art, which we were really excited to build, giving it some branding. And honestly, the idea of being one of the first of the Gen Z cohort, if you will, to enter into the workspace, access isn't really something that we think we have, but something like the Creative Mentor Network we're learning that we do actually have that. But in terms of having someone who is Gen Z leading that conversation is something that Joss and I actually realized isn't that accessible, and I have had so many valuable conversations, and I want to be able to share that with other people. So it's looking at kind of exploring the joys and challenges, because there are definitely challenges and we shouldn't shy away from that, of the journeys towards people's careers. But also something else I learned from Joss is that she has a twin brother, and I had a conversation with her twin brother who said, don't forget the other audience who are the leaders in the space of today, and they really, really want to know how to market to Gen Z, because apparently we're so hard to market to and so damn hard to understand. So I was like, wow, okay, so it's definitely something that we bring value to as well, and something I've learned throughout this entire mentorship, and I think I said at the top, is that I believe that mentorship is a knowledge exchange. I've learned so much from Joss, but we had a conversation last week before she fell ill that she's learned a lot from me, and I didn't realize all the things that she learned from me. And then having the conversation with her network and her brother and everything is that there's so much that happens between the two-way conversation, and that's what this podcast is hopefully going to do. So be sure to get in touch, because who knows, you might be on the Audacity of We podcast. You might be getting an email from me, but I'm just really excited about it, because I think there's something about conversation and how powerful that can be, especially in the space of inclusion with my job, and then also just being my experience with the Creative Mentor Network, is that having these conversations is just the way we'll move forward, and it's the way that we will make this world a better place. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but I just thought it'd be a nice way to close the conversation. But thank you so much for listening. I hope I closed it out well enough for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mercy. That was so great. And I really liked firstly, your podcast sounds amazing, so really looking forward to listening to that. And the point that you made about how mentoring is a knowledge exchange, but also how mentors learn from their mentee as much as mentees learn from their mentor is so important, because it's not a one-way relationship, it's a two-way relationship, and I know a lot of the mentors in here can say that they've learned a lot from their mentees, so that's really, really great. Thank you so much, and what a final presentation, amazing. So that's it for all the presentations. So I just quickly want to say before we close off, like, you guys should be really, really proud of yourselves. I know we've only seen 5.5 presentations today, and that's just a snapshot of like all the people that have been on the program. We've got 20 pairings of mentors and mentees, so lots of stories, lots of amazing projects been worked on, lots of development from mentors and mentees. So everyone give yourselves a round of applause. You should be very proud of yourselves. And just to kind of reiterate what Katie said at the start of the showcase, this is not kind of your like end of your relationship with Creative Mentor Network. I'm going to get in touch with everyone tomorrow with like next steps and like how you guys can kind of stay part of what we do. So to mentors, you can be a mentor ambassador, and what that means is helping us out when we do like assessment centers. Also, Sam, who's sitting right there, he does outreach for us, so he'll go to schools and youth centers, so he'll take mentors and mentees to kind of talk about their experience. So if you're interested, you can kind of follow all the links there and kind of let us know what you're kind of interested in helping us out with. And then for mentees, so you can become a mentee ambassador, and that means you can go with Sam to like youth centers and things, and basically talk about your experience as a mentee. And there's kind of lots of ways that you can kind of stay in touch with us. So for example, Mercy, you're working on a podcast, you know, you can reach out to Simran and Miles, who's sitting there, and kind of we can kind of share that on our social media platforms. So definitely keep in touch with us. We always want to hear about what you're working on. Like, it's not just the 16 weeks that we kind of work with you, like we want to kind of stay in touch. But yeah, you should be really, really proud of yourselves. So before you guys go back to kind of networking and getting to know each other properly, I'd love if everyone can stand up. So mentors and mentees, we're going to take a nice cheesy picture and I'll send that to you. And then you guys are free to like chat and have some food.